Recording in progress.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's straighten this out here.
If you'd like, I can do the roll call.
Yes.
Okay. This is the roll call. We have Member Gunn.
Here.
Member Wu.
Here.
Member Lum.
Here.
Member Giles.
Here.
Member Kirk.
Here.
Member Prasa.
Here.
Member Walthall.
Here.
Member Heath.
Here.
And we have a quorum. Stay present.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
This is great that we have all the board members here. Thank you for attending out in the audience here. I would like to welcome and have them introduce themselves to us as the board and the folks on the Zoom meeting. The gentleman that we had the pleasure of working with that did all the construction on our walkways, stairway, and archway from American Building Development. Dan and Dmitiry, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Sure. Should we stand here?
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and happy Monday. So we're thankful and glad to be here, a part of this meeting. Especially big thank you to Joe and Stuart for the invitation, so we can be here. And as we said, we are from American Building Development, so we own this company. It's a construction company. We own, me and my brother. It's a family business, and we help City of Locke to the repairs, as Stuart mentioned, with walkways, deck, and we're looking forward to do more repairs. We're here to help you guys, to help the whole city, the whole town, with any repairs that you need. Anytime you can call us, we'll come out, walk with anybody, the members of this board director meeting, and then we can help with the repairs.
Yeah, I wanted to stress what a pleasure it was to work so close with them, but the respect that they gave to the historical context of the town was really refreshing. It was such a hassle dealing with, first of all, trying to get contractors to even take this job. We're so fortunate to work with these guys. Every step of the process, they accommodated us, including financially. So I just can't thank you guys enough for what you did.
Oh,
I hope we can get you back out here and fix the whole town.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we're ready to build the whole town.
Yes.
I hope you like it, all our jobs, what we did.
It's wonderful. We get so many nice comments.
We just check right now and everything stay on the same place.
It didn't get worse.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be there for a long time.
Warranty will be all the time. You can call us.
You're a lifetime warranty.
You have like a little sign like I could put somewhere that says your names, because the tourists and all the people that visit the town see the walkways and they're really impressed. Do you have something like that?
We can make it special for you guys.
Okay.
Number,
Bring it here.
Okay.
What we do here in the...
Just like
Well, I
business
was
card.
thinking of like those little stakes in it, and like the walkway by Al's, as people go by, I could probably just do it right there, done by American Builders. Yeah, because they're really, people really are impressed with the new walkways.
We will do in coming.
Okay, yeah, whatever you can give me.
Yeah.
Phone number,
Yes.
man. Thank you, that's good to hear.
Thank you for the opportunity to help you.
And leave some of your brochures.
Yes,
Yes.
I brought the man.
So you guys had another job today you were working on?
Yeah, we were working on decks up in Grass Valley. It's a big apartment complex.
Oh, nothing is meaningful, it's Locke. I can't, the plans that we had, these guys so far exceeded what we had wanted. And all the little teeny details that popped up, and boy, are there a lot of them in Locke. These guys accommodated them. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is too much.
Now you just need to work on the Star Theater, you know, the one right next to the walkway. That's your next project.
We can start Monday, just let us know.
Yeah.
I'm a little busy, but we will move it as a project.
I'll move it up.
We'll squeeze it in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for driving out here.
Okay, no, thank you guys.
Great, thanks.
All right,
Long
so you guys can continue the meeting, so we'll leave.
Okay.
Okay.
Go back to my house and grab a beer.
All right, thanks.
We know where is your
My
house.
house,
Yeah.
your house. know
Thank you.
that.
Have a good rest of your
Bye, thank you for coming.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Okay.
Chair Walthall, before we move to the next item, I did forget to do my clerk announcement. Is it okay if I do that now?
Of course.
Okay. So this is the clerk's announcement. The Locke Management Corporation, aka Association, LMCA, fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and the use of courteous language. The LMCA does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant. In-person public comments will be taken first. To make a public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk. The chairperson will call your name when it's your turn to make a comment. If you plan to make a teleconference public comment, you will be kept on mute until the chairperson calls for teleconference public comment. The clerk will unmute you, and when it is your turn, you may begin to make your public comment. You may also send written comments to boardclerk@saccounty.net, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record.
Thank you, Manuel. Okay, agenda item number 2, approval of the Locke Management Corporation May 8th, 2023 meeting minutes. I'm going to open that agenda item up to public comment. Manuel, do we have any public comment on the line?
Let me take a look. I have 3 callers on the line. Do we have any public comments for item number 2 of the meeting? If so, please raise your hands. I have no hands raised for teleconference public comment.
Okay, is there any comments from the board? Okay, if not, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May 8th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, should we take a roll call on this?
All right, the motion is to approve the minutes. Member John.
Yes.
Member Wu.
Aye.
Member Lund.
Yes.
Member Giles.
Yes.
Member Kirk.
Yes.
Member Prosser.
Yes.
Member Walthall.
Yes.
Member Heath.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3, year-to-date financial report, our treasurer's report. I'm going to hand the floor over to Treasurer Prosser.
Okay, we closed the month of June with $48,319 in the bank. You got a page there that shows the expenses for the month, the regular expenses. I think we did some tree trimming along the way there, and we had a couple of bills from Certifier for our regular monitoring costs. And so that's pretty much the regular monthly financials there. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about was our total in assessments owed. We just hit about $49,000 in total assessments owing to the town. And in the last couple of months, I have filed 5 small claims cases, and I've started the process on another 5, sending out new notice letters of, to pay, and if no pay, then they will be taken to small claims also. So that by the end of probably September, we will have 10 cases working. The problem right now is that small claims court is completely overloaded. And in the last month, I've not been able to get any notice or news on when the first 5 cases that I have filed will be scheduled. And there's not much that we can do about that except wait for the court to get caught up. And I'll keep the board noticed when I get that information. So we are actively going after those who are delinquent in their assessments. We've given them a couple of years grace here, trying to get caught up after COVID and various things. But we need the money to accomplish projects here in town. They're simply going to have to pay.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments regarding the
Yes.
treasurer's report?
Yes. Okay, regarding the treasury report, I'm glad that Plus noticed that the accounts receivable is enormous. I mean, I see, according to me, I see there's $45,000. It's 18 times the monthly assessment. It was 1.5 year worth of assessment not paid. I'm glad you noticed it. But anyway, at the last meeting, I urged you to start a dialogue with the individual debtors, understand their individual problem, make a plan so that they can pay comfortably. I think that is probably, I don't think you have tried that, and I think you should, because going through small claim court is, like you said, is overloaded. You know, I think you should seriously consider start a dialogue with individual debtors and have a plan customized to help them to pay and catch up. Thank you.
Are there any more public comments? Anybody online?
Does anybody on the Zoom meeting, teleconference, wish to make a public comment for item number 3 of the agenda? If so, please raise your
I'm
hand.
afraid it might be too late, but...
Okay. I see no hands raised.
Okay.
I just had a question. So the year 2020, we took off 25%, correct?
It was 2021 when it was taken off.
But it was for 2020? Okay, because I think in your accounting, you've got to be really clear when you're going to small claims court of how much was, you know, that was clear, that was just for that year, 2020, right? So whatever you're sending out has to reflect that the 25%. And when you sent them, when you're doing all this paperwork, is it total amount due for each year? Or is it just one combined figure?
Well, it's a total.
It's a total?
Yes.
Because accounting wise, you probably should line item it by year, just because there's gonna be a question about 2020. It's gonna come up, like, you know, well, they were given 25%. So I would just recommend that you be prepared to line item each year and reflect that 25%. So it's clear. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, because, and I accomplished that already, because there's a section for description of amounts owed.
Okay.
And in that, I broke it down to assessments.
Okay.
You have to provide them with from when to when.
Right.
And in the amounts owed, I gave credit to them for, this includes so many months at this amount per month,
Okay.
minus
Okay.
the credit, the COVID credit that we gave them.
Okay. So,
That's explained in there.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're referring to it as a COVID credit?
I didn't know what to call
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I gotcha.
We sort of
Okay.
discussed it at the time. and
Okay.
If you can think of a better name, but.
That makes sense, okay. And then have most people from that point, are they just withholding because we're stuck in 2020, or are they now paying assessments? So, like out of the 5 that you sent, were the majority of the 5 had that balance from 2020? Are they now paying their current balances?
It's all of that, yes. Everyone is completely different. You've got some people that go back to 2018.
Okay.
Some people have started to pay and then stopped, and then once in a while send a check. We've got people who have started to pay, and I've been in contact with them, and it hasn't proven fruitful to get any more. Some people were paying, stopped for a year, started paying again, and have stopped for some months. And the reasons why are many too. Some people are angry that the board vacated in February of 20.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's
Some people, I don't know, there are some people that I've tried to contact, I've sent letters to, and I've tried to talk to them about their bills, and they refuse to respond, so
Okay, all right.
there's a mixture of a lot of.
Okay.
Any more board comments, questions?
I just have a comment that this problem was not by this current board. Past board tried to implement some actions, but yet non-collectibles had accumulated over time. So it's not this board that caused it.
Thank you. Plus 14,000 of that 49 is the Adams building. We have to bear that in mind. That I don't know how we'll ever recoup.
Can we lean it?
I think it already has a lien.
Does it have our lien?
Our lien
Yeah, like one from us.
from the new board?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
old-
afraid we'd get it.
Well, it might at
Put it at the
some
end of the
point
line.
get sold. Huh?
You should add it to the list of liens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it was, when it hadn't had the property tax paid and it looked like it was gonna go in for auction, did we have a lien on it at that time? Do you remember that?
yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
we did.
So yeah, it needs to have a lien on it so that if it comes up again and it's gonna go for public auction, because at that time then that lien would be paid out of it.
Yeah, its property taxes have been recently paid, so it won't be on the courthouse steps for a while.
Okay.
So, and as Joe pointed out, there were people not paying assessments for 2 years prior to year 2000. So it's just, they don't want to pay. So it has been made crystal clear numerous times that when you buy a building here in town, your CC&R state, you pay your assessments. Well, they decided, no, I'm not going to pay, because they're not thinking of the town. They think they're paying us as a board, or Joe. The excuse of not having an active board for 10 months, or not having a town manager, or the COVID crisis doesn't preclude them from paying the assessments that they signed a legal document saying they were going to pay. But it's now up to $49,000. So Joe is doing a very thorough job on trying to collect the money for the town. So, are there any more board comments? Okay, thank you for the report. Further action pertaining to the health and safety, number 4. Further action pertaining to the health and safety issues with the Wall-E and Star Theater buildings. I'll start with the Wall-E. We did make contact with the help of Joe and the help of Eric, the descendants of Lorraine Fong that now own the building. They were very cooperative. They responded quickly. They wanted to know if the board could provide them companies that could address the problem with the pigeons and the broken glass and the feces, of which we did. So in short, the ball is in their court. This has all pretty much occurred in this last week. So I can't tell you if the owners have reached out to the pigeon pest control company yet. That company, though, we vetted a number of companies, and the company that we provided the contact for is capable and willing to do all the work necessary, not only remove the pigeons, but the feces, fix the broken windows, and secure the building against future pigeon problems. So it's going well. I do want to talk a bit about the Star Theater, but while we're on the Wall-E, are there any public comments about the Wall-E building?
I have a board question, if there aren't any public.
Let's find out if we got anything online here. regarding the Wally building safety issues.
So does anybody wish to make a comment on item number 4 of the agenda? If so, please raise your hand to make teleconference public comment. So no hands raised?
Thank you. Ginny?
I was curious to know if they had, the people, who was it that you were able to contact? You said that they were understanding that they were going to move on that. Was it the nephew?
It was a nephew.
Did he give any sense of what they're going to do? Or are they going to eventually sell it, or?
No. It's all going to start with them setting up a meeting out here with the company and probably the nephew. Mm-hmm. And I could meet with them too.
So they're just going to keep the building?
Well, I don't know what they plan on doing. They'd probably have to see the bill, the estimate that they're going to get on fixing it. So I hope that doesn't stop the work that needs to be done. So
it would be great if it would be rentable. If they're not willing to sell and they don't want to occupy or do anything with it, if we could get more business in town, that would be really great.
I think it needs a lot of work though. It doesn't have power, it doesn't have sewer.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not just a...
Well, I know it didn't have power, but sewer didn't have...
Well, it might have a sewer, but I mean, it takes power to run your sewer. It takes, it's...
Well, first things first.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now regarding the Star Theater, the owner is going to get this very similar letter to what the Wally got. Might be a little bit more emphatic regarding the structural integrity, or especially the safety issues with sheet metal. But that comes next here. So is there any public comment about the Star Theater? Okay, any from online?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, any from the board that we haven't heard before?
I would like to see the county involved in the Star Theater. It's a safety issue. And I think we would be better to get the county to encourage them to do a structural engineer report than if we can get the county to go that direction. I think it's at that point.
Do you think this is something Supervisor Hume would be interested in
I have
hearing?
a meeting with him on Thursday, and I can bring it up.
I think he realizes the significance of that building, but it's also such a safety hazard. So that would be great, Lisa. Okay, if there's no more comments. Let's go to section 2, discussion matters. Discussion regarding Locke Water Works Company, and I've invited Locke Water Works partner Clarence Chu to participate in this building. I'd like to welcome him. Is he online?
I do show him online.
Clarence Chu?
Yes.
Here we go. Is this volume up enough here on?
I turned my computer up so I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can hear you fine, Clarence. Well, the reason that I invited Clarence to speak, there are several reasons actually. I wanted to welcome you as what I consider an important aspect of the town of Locke, since you run Locke Water Works, and maybe to answer some questions that the public or the board may have regarding the fire suppression system pump, its maintenance schedule, and anything else that's pertinent to our fire safety here in Locke. So could you tell us a little bit about, for instance, when was Locke Water Works formed, Clarence?
That was way back in 1982. Yeah, it used to be, because I purchased, my company purchased the property way back in 1977, and then we inherited, the owner ownership of the water company, which is just like a very small private company. And later on, the county of Sacramento came in to help bring everything up to code at that point, 82, and then they help building owners connect to new pipes and all of the. Unfortunately, they didn't put in like a meter or something to each household. It was a pretty rough job. It's actually later on when they handed over to water company, which consists of ownership of the boathouse person, the ownership of Locke person, and one town representative. So 3 directors from that point. But the problem from day one is that the county just kind of have a very limited funding to just connect to new pipes, and then mainly is a fire protection part. They put in electric pump next to the boathouse that will give us a lot of pressure in case to fight fire. And then, of course, from that point, we noticed that electric pump costs the company a lot of money, just the standby rate. So we told them we can't keep going with that. It's going to break the company, because we wanted from day one to keep the rate low so that it fits better to the town residents. So in order to do that, we don't want to keep increasing price just to pay SMUD for standby fee because of the horsepower of that pump. So later on, it successfully got the county to replace it with a diesel engine pump. Excuse me. And that's been ongoing for all these years, and the pump runs well. And it gave us a lot of horsepower that we needed, and it saved some of a few times when we have small fires in Locke. Well, and that was pretty much the same setup until now. And the difficult part is that they keep adding things to this water system, and then still expect this small company to be able to run this operation. So it's getting very difficult.
Thank you. Well, I think one thing that Locke Water Works has always been a little mysterious to the Locke Management Board and the town, the members of the Locke Management Corporation. And we don't have contact information on regarding the fire department. We don't have the information on the maintenance schedule. I know that Joe Ross and myself and Mark Miller went over one time in reference to the difficulty that we had been having with the communication system with Certifier. And Dustin Marr was with us too, and he informed us that he no longer was doing any kind of inspection, and he gave me the name of a fellow at the boarding house and his number, and I tried to contact him and the number didn't work. So we have a disconnect between the Locke Management Corporation and Locke Water Works regarding our fire suppression pump. So what we'd like to do is establish a good, strong connection between Locke Water Works and Locke Management.
That would be great. Actually, that's a very good idea because we don't have many manpowers as you guys. And also, you talked to me last time when we had the Locke Foundation meeting about that, couldn't locate that person. And I found out from Dustin later on that that person no longer worked for the boathouse since May of this year. So, of course, maintaining that diesel engine pump is very, very important. And so they need every month to have a person start it up and make sure it works and all that. And then there's a book to write down each time, because we have to report it to the county on that. And so when I know about that Danny is no longer working for the boat house, then I asked Dustin. Dustin used to manage that pump for us.
Yeah.
So he said he'd be glad to do it. So now from now on, it'll be him.
Well, he had told me that his eyesight was so poor that he couldn't read the dials. Maybe he's better now.
Well, the problem is that he sometimes when he speak to me the same. He's just using like, oh, I can see at nighttime, blah blah blah. To tell him, hey, if you need to open that lock, take a flashlight and open the lock. Most of the time, especially when he do that regular checkup maintenance, it's doing it in daytime. So sometimes I got a little confused why he, keep mentioning about can see in the dark and all that.
I see. So we will consider Dustin Marr, and for the sake of the public and the board, Dustin Marr is also on the
but I, Stuart, you touch bases of, like you feel there's a lack of communication and all that thing. I'm in town every week on weekends, and we are the board of Locke Foundation. So feel free to contact me anytime you have anything about Locke Water Works that you think that I need to know or we need to do better. Talk to me, please.
Thank you. And vice versa too, if issues come up. For instance, I had heard that Joey Lopez had difficulty with the diesel engine on the recent fire, the boat fire, which made me wonder if we had a fire here in Locke, what would we do if that diesel engine didn't kick over? Because I know it.
Well, there's always the problem with that engine because it has a delay of 2 minutes. My understanding, I'm not a technician, I don't know full function of that diesel engine, but it's in the hands of Joe Sanchez for many years that he assured us that he knows how to kickstart it manually. Technically, if a fire happened, it would start out with using the fire hydrants and other thing in the first couple minutes. And then it will kick on that diesel engine to give you instant a lot of pressure. So that's important. That's why it's important to make sure every month that diesel engine starts on manually.
Thank you. Another question is ultimately, if and when we get our water from Walnut Grove, does that affect our fire suppression system in any way?
My understanding is that initially it's still going to be the same as what I just explained to you. The first couple minutes we'll still use the water from the water tank.
Yeah.
And then the pressure started to kick into that diesel engine pump, and then it gives you instantly plenty of pressure.
Good. Now, is Joey Sanchez still with Walnut Grove Volunteer Fire Department?
I think so.
Okay, because we want to make sure that we have at least one contact with our local fire department.
Yes.
Okay.
Stuart, I'll be on vacation pretty soon, so I'll do a lot of things when I come back by the end of the month. Maybe we can work together and all that things so that we have peace of mind, making sure everything works.
So we'll create a file electronically and physically on this subject. Well, thank you. While we have you, I think I have to let the public yet. So do we have any public comment, Douglas?
Well, I think I will share with you my personal experience with the diesel pump. 2016, when I was living in that yellow building, the fire broke out, and the firemen came very quickly, and they all had the hoses ready to shoot. But then the diesel, there was no water coming out because it took them a long time before the diesel engine got warm up. So that was probably 5-10 minutes, and that was an eternity for somebody having a fire. So I just want you guys to bear in mind that the diesel engine took a long time to warm up, and it took longer than the fireman could be ready. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Sure, well, I believe you have a slip for item number 5, public comment?
It's going to be the one right after this regarding the water, the drinking bottled water.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I have Jim's slip there.
I have a question for Clarence, which relates to the interconnection between Sacramento County Water and Locke Water Works. So, I don't know when this was. It was over a year ago, I think. We had some water odor issues, and I reached out to the county to see what to do about this. They indicated that there is a pending project to interconnect Locke Water Works with Sacramento County at Walnut Grove. There needs to be some work done on the Locke Water Works side, but that everything was in place and ready to go if Locke Water Works was amenable to that, or was able to move forward. And so, Clarence, I would ask, oh, by the way, Clarence, is Eric Heath speaking. So I would just ask, can you provide an update as to the status of whatever interconnection between the county and Locke Water Works is?
Every month we have a meeting with the state board people and the county people. And so I was each year in the beginning, I thought that this is going to be the year that actually they start the construction, and it's kind of delay for various reasons. So it seems like maybe we have a good chance that they will start groundbreaking for the project this year, but now it's already July, so I just still just have to be hopeful that they will start the construction and sometime this year.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. My impression from speaking with them is that they were waiting on Locke Water Works. So it sounds like there may be a gap in communication as to who needs to start doing what. But if you
it's actually every month we have a meeting, so there really isn't any hold up and all that thing. So
okay.
I mean, it's just like certain things that I'm not the technical people there, that I don't know what they're waiting for. They're waiting for something, so that's the only thing that I can tell you.
Okay, thank you. I may follow up with you separately on one of the weekends to find out who to speak to at the county.
Okay.
To help move that along. That would be very helpful for, I think, for the community and certainly for us.
Okay. I'd like to call on Jim Harper for public comment.
On the water issue now, though, right?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jim Harper. I live in Sacramento. I've had the good fortune to come down and visit in Locke ever since I was in my early 20s, going to graduate school. And I just feel very strongly from what I've heard in recent times about the quality of water down here and the issue of arsenic in the water. And the fact that this has been going on for apparently some long period of time. Also, I understand, and like I say, this is all just secondhand information that I've had been to talk to a series of people, both here in Locke, and I've also talked to some folks with the state and with the county. And it's my understanding from what I've put together here, that there was water being provided at one time, but that it's no longer being provided in terms of safe drinking water. And I just don't understand exactly why that would have stopped, but I don't have all the answers to this. Beyond that, now the discussion about, of course, providing that again, which is very encouraging, but it doesn't get to the heart of the matter really about what to do about the water in the first place. I also understand there was some efforts to try to connect with Walnut Grove over water, and that didn't succeed, and perhaps that might be tried again. So I'm just simply encouraging everyone to think about the people in this community, the children in this community, the people who come into this community and do business here, and have to be exposed to this water, and in some cases may not be aware of its dangers. And also, even if you're getting safe drinking water, you're still using this water for other services in your home, right? And personally, I just would not want to be regularly washing my hands with water with arsenic in it and washing my clothes and all that sort of stuff either, you know? Or cooking with it. I don't know what you do with safe water when you cook, or when you clean your pots and pans, or what that's all about too. I'm not an expert on this at all. I know nothing about it other than as a citizen. I just offer these comments in encouragement to all of you, and to move forward and do what we can, you know. And if I can be of any assistance, I certainly would like to do so. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jim. We have your contact here.
Thank you. Chair Walthall, that was for item number 6, is that correct?
Well, it's kind of right in between 5 and 6, so we'll put it under 5. Are there any more board comments regarding number 5?
Number 5 or number 6?
Well, number 5.
Okay. Okay, so just to kind of explain to Jim, yes, there is a potential project between Sacramento County and Locke Water, the Mutual Water Board. So that's what Clarence was talking about. When is this going to happen? So that'll bring water over from Walnut Grove. Do you want me, can I go ahead and talk about bottled water to Locke residents?
I'd like to close agenda item 5.
Okay.
But
I actually still want to speak of that, the communication problems with the internet and all that. And if the fire suppression, the systems have been checked in the last few years.
Well, we have the system where we get notified, they check daily to see if the connection is stable. I know I'm on the list for false alarms, and I think Joe is too, and I haven't received any in a while. So, and again, as we've discussed before, it's an internet thing, and they had even discussed using kind of a radio transmission thing, and that didn't work out. So right now, it seems to be working okay. I'm getting the false alarms. And by the way, it's the Locke Management Corporation that's in charge of that system with Certifier. We're not in charge of the fire suppression system. So, I don't know, maybe we have to wait and see if it totally breaks. Who knows?
It would just be great to just for a fraction, just turn the waterworks on to make sure everything's working. Clear the pipes even. I would imagine that sitting there for such a long time, it would just be good to check.
Well, regarding checking the actual fire suppression system with all the valves and whatnot to have them inspected, it's many thousands.
But if they were to just simply manually trigger it, we could have people in different locations looking to see, is this building being taken care of, is that building? Because it's been how many years since?
Well, I think that's what they do, and they charge you per valve. I don't think we can just go ahead and turn it on.
We can't just turn it on our
I think once a valve is on, you have to replace it.
Oh.
But I don't know. That's way out of my league. So
maybe we could get someone from a fire suppression system to come speak to us about the system. That would number one give us an understanding of the system and how it works or how it doesn't work.
Perhaps somebody from the fire department could even do it.
Yeah, I don't, The people that check the valves would probably be the people that we'd want to come and speak to us about the fire suppression system, so we have an understanding of it. We could always just put it on another agenda, you know, and some of us could do some telephone calling to see if we could find a couple of the companies.
I will do that. Okay, I'm going to move on to agenda item number 6, and that is specifically bottled water to Locke residents. Now, do we have any public comment regarding the issue of bottled water to residents or business owners from the public?
Excuse me.
Jim Harper.
My comments were earlier, you asked me to speak earlier about this, so I did mention the bottled water. I could just perhaps elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah,
Just real quickly. It's very important. I think you did this yesterday, you know? Well, these people need the water. I've heard of an instance of a family, for example, it's all secondhand now, but I heard of a family that was considering purchasing a home down here, and once they learned about the water situation, they didn't do so. Now, I can't speak for them, but that's, you know, that's an issue, right? And so I would just concur, I don't know why the water, all this time that people knew there were problems with this water, why water wasn't continued to be provided. But I would just urge you, please move forward on this as quickly as possible as a start, and then you work with the Walnut Grove issues and all that. But I would encourage you to get that water here as quickly as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any public comment on...
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay.
Public comment.
Any comments from the board?
Well, I contacted Rebecca Sloan probably 6 months ago and asked what happened to the bottled water. And then I contacted her again about a month ago, and she said to talk to Clarence. And is Clarence still on the phone? No.
He is.
He is. Clarence, is he muted?
Maybe we'll ask for just a second. Clarence, can you hear us?
Yes,
Oh, here.
I'm here.
So,
Yeah, you asked me about the bottled water?
yes.
That was started in 2019. I think they give us a 3 years contract. They give us grant money to provide bottled water service to the Locke residents. And then, of course, at that point, we thought that 3 years is plenty of time because we don't really need it after we got the new pipeline hooked up from Walnut Grove. But then, of course, it's very disappointing. After 3 years, they still haven't got any construction work done. And so that 3 years grant is expired. So we have to apply for it from scratch. That's painfully slow process, we find out. We're still working on it, and want to update you, probably takes another 2 months before we got it finalized. I would like to explain to you why the water company cannot service the bottled water before we got that contract secured, because each month it costs about $4,000 or $5,000 to pay Alhambra for that service. And so after the first month, then the water company has to pay Alhambra when they submit us a bill first before we get reimbursement from the state water board. So that's the things that we have to proceed on very carefully until we got this contract sealed before we can order Alhambra water again.
So do you have the, is it a contract or a grant? Are you having to write another grant from scratch?
Somebody's helping from the state water board helping us.
Is that
but still it's a long process. So my optimistic estimate will be at least another 2 months, because we cannot called up Alhambra Water to start distributing bottled water again until we have this contract sealed.
Okay, the grant, so until the grant is finalized, correct?
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, we have to pay out and then take a chance. It's a few $1,000s a month chance that we cannot afford to take.
Is the person you're dealing with Salem Mohammed? Does that name?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know the guy.
Well, Rebecca gave me the contact information. So I sent him an email probably before 4th of July.
Yeah, he's been helping us big time, but the whole thing is still, it's very, very slow moving.
But he said that the grant should be completed in maybe 2 months?
At least.
Okay.
And I can assure you, as soon as he got that signed, and of course he got to do a whole estimate in order to get more precise amount of the grant.
Is it going to be?
So that it'd be enough to do the service.
Do you think it's going to be another 3-year grant?
Yes.
Okay.
We were told that it's good to apply for 3 years. So even if we got the water pipe connected by next year, we can cancel that at that point.
Thank you, Clarence.
I have a question for Clarence. Clarence, you're working on the grant contract. Can you request provision that because of health and safety, that the town of Locke needs to order bottled water and put that as a provision and start ordering water and put that to get reimbursement from the contract?
See, after I listened to you guys in this meeting, I understand more the urgency of getting it done. So I will push it even harder to get the contract as soon as possible.
Thank you, Clarence. It would be interesting to know how many people purchased their bottled water. Up until the time that I know myself got free water, I would just go fill up my water jug down in Walnut Grove. I don't know how many people actually drink this water, but I do know a number of the original Chinese. It is, that the arsenic issue became a very legal one when the federal government lowered the standard from 50 parts per billion to 10, and this made a number of small community water districts out of compliance. I don't know what Locke is, 37, something like that, but
it's I think 0.3. 23. Used to be fine because the old standard was 0.5.
Yeah. I know Connie King used to just drink it. I wouldn't. So, but anyway, thank you, Clarence.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad we get a better understanding with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any more board comment regarding bottled water? Okay, let's move on to a discussion regarding number 7, regarding gravel road maintenance. And I'd like to check at this point to see if Russell Ohms or Deborah Mendel are online. I know they're traveling, so they might not be here.
So if Russell Ohms or Deborah Mendel are online, can you please raise your hand? You can use the raise hand command with *9.
Okay, what I'd like to do to give context before public comment is to read a letter that Russell Ohms wrote to the board. It is part of the agenda package, but for the benefit of everybody here, I'd like to just read it. You have to pardon me too, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm a little froggy. And then I'll open it up to public comment. This is from Russell Ohms. I'm writing to the LMC to give them a range of costs to repair, smooth, and put gravel on the roads behind Locke. I had originally planned to place gravel on all the roads that are the responsibility of the LMC. At the last LMC meeting, the question of liability was brought up and questions about who owns and is responsible for the gravel road leading to the town's parking lot. It's become quite clear that Sacramento County both owns and is responsible for the gravel road leading to the parking lot and in front of Dustin Marr's row of garages. Because of this recent development about the ownership of the road, I'm asking Lisa Kirk, the county's representative on the LMC, to contact and determine what the county intends to do about repairing this road to avoid deep potholes created by the rains last winter. I'm asking to be a paid volunteer to repair the roads in preparation for possible rains this coming winter. I am volunteering to save my LMC the high cost of doing this work. I'm working with a person who has over 30 years experience repairing gravel roads. I'm asking for between $5,000 and $6,000 to do this work. It is possible that up to 5 $800 loads of 3/4 inch clean gravel will be necessary to do the job. I will level the road before any rock is delivered and finish the job with a load of pea gravel to make the road smoother. I will keep the existing road base as undisturbed as possible, as road base gravel is mixed with cement, which hardens to a firm roadway. I will also hire casual labor to help me spread the gravel evenly on the road. I will place gravel beginning at the end of Dustin Marr's garages. It will include Key Street, which is the road that circles behind Locke and then goes straight through the back to the parking lot. I will include the short road to Al's place, the short road to Levy Road. The short road to Levy Road is not used by the garbage trucks and is therefore in decent shape. The same is true for the straight section of Key Street back to the parking lot. I will invoice the LMC when I have completed the job. Of course, that's contingent on him getting the job. Okay, with that being said, I'd like to open it up to public comment.
I have a public comment. Is this for items off the agenda?
No, this, we're on the paving or graveling of the private roads.
Is there any public comment online?
If anyone wishes to make a public comment on item number 7, please raise your hand. You can use the *9 command. I have no hands raised.
Okay, let me open it up to board comment.
Well, I appreciate the offer of Russell, but we need to have insurance. He states he's gonna hire people. There's no workers' comp. There are issues, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna fill in the roads in the back, we need to get bids, we need to look for funding, and we need to have somebody that has insurance, at least insurance. And if you want to find an alternative way where our insurance company will cover him and his employees, fine. But we're spending other people's money, and if something happens and he doesn't have insurance and a license, we're all going to be responsible. And I just can't go that far out on a limb. We've learned, we did it very well with the walkways. The roads, the back roads need the same kind of treatment. And we're gonna have to budget this in. I'm not sure what the total was, and there's estimates here. There's nothing really like, I wanna see bids from people, as we did with the walkways. So that's my concern.
Are there any other board comments? Okay, please check something here.
It's private property.
I have a question about the gravel roadway. Does the board, are we responsible for repaving and putting new gravel every year? And if yes, who does it? In past years, did we hire companies to do that? Or did we have Russell Ohms do that? And we paid them to do that?
Well, those gravel roads have been in place for decades, so I can't speak to how they were done initially. I know they were done a lot because there are places in Locke, the road, where the road is higher than the property that they front. So they generally have been treated like a driveway on a farmer's, to a guy's farm. You lay down gravel, you spread it. So that's what we're talking about here. Again, you had bids before. The last one was 30,000. It might be 40,000 now to get that job done. Of course, that doesn't include the one section that will have to be discussed in we have an agenda item for it too, and that's the area from Main Street to the parking lot in front of Dustin Marr's garage. So I would like to get the board members' feel regarding using an outside company. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think Lisa's concerns are well placed. I think we should bid it. I think we should make sure that they have insurance. If there's going to be more, if there's going to be people working on behalf of the community, on behalf of the LMC, if something goes awry, either they need to be insured or we need to insure them. Get a rider for that, or however we need to handle that. I think that's certainly worth looking into. And if Russell can do it for whatever he's estimating, and it's lower than the other bids, and we can cover the insurance, then fine. But otherwise, I think we need to be careful.
Yeah. Daryl?
Same thing.
Greg?
Stuart, I think our current insurance company will not insure this project on behalf of LMC. It's out of the scope of what LMC is all about. And so in the current insurance environment that we're facing right now as a consumer, there's not a lot of companies out there that are willing to take on that risk. So I agree. I think it's appropriate to get a bid with a company that's bonded and insured and to get it done right. Because Eric, you're correct, if something goes awry, not during the project necessarily, but a few months after, a couple years after, it'll be the LMC's responsibility unless we hire a company that is insured and bonded.
Mm-hmm. Joe?
Well, I agree. Just for point of information, Stuart started to talk about it. The last bid that I got was in about 2000, and I called the company that they didn't do the work, but they provided a bid in about 2018, and the jump from 2018 to 2000 was from 25,000 to 30,000, and so that's been 3 years in an environment where we've got a lot of inflation. So I don't know. I could look up those old. If I don't know who that is, I could call them. They were very accommodating when I asked them for a new bid. They came out and did it for us right away. So that's something that I can do. That's an easy thing to get.
Now we're going to look for funding sources.
And then Stuart, I'll take it on, and I can find out from our current insurance company if they would handle a risk if we brought on board a company that's not insured.
Right, an uncontracted, uninsured individual. Because he doesn't have a license, so that's another issue.
I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
The question for Greg is, what if Russell gets his own insurance? Is that an option?
No, because they would ask Russell, is this, it's a commercial endeavor that he's taking on.
Yes.
And so probably would not qualify for it being a paving company or a road work company.
Okay.
So I think it'd be difficult for him to get it, but he can look, absolutely, search out and see if he can get insured for it. But his own insurance is for personal use. So even if he had large liability limits, or if he hired someone casually to help him, he doesn't have workers' comp insurance nor liability insurance coverage from his personal policy that would cover him.
Because he does own and operate a business as a woodworker, so I'm just thinking.
It's a different category.
Different category altogether. Yeah.
Different category.
And I will talk to Pat Hume about the paving, getting this section paving and, trying, looking, is this not common ground but a public roadway, and getting this section done. But, I don't know about any money. We're gonna have to look at a funding source if we want to take care of the roads in the back that are private property.
Well, the road's a common area.
Right?
So it's,
It's a federal historical district, yes, the whole town.
well, it seems consensus, as far as the prudent way of approaching this project. It is kind of a shame, though, that this is Locke and it's a one-day job. They could be done a heck of a lot cheaper than us waiting on trying to find a funding source and then getting a current bid and all that other stuff. But that's not the way we do things, so.
Chair Walthall, looks like the callers raised their hand. I know you closed the public comment period, so it's at your discretion if you wanted to.
Yes.
Okay, give me one moment. Caller, are you there? Hi, caller. If you're there, you do have to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Diane. My only comment about the proposal from Russell is that, as with any kind of independent project for the town of Locke, it generally has been standard practice or past practice and accepted practice to hire independent contractors. And for an independent contractor, then they are the ones who produce their own liability insurance, worker comp if they have it, etc. But when you hire a day laborer or an independent contractor for a short-term project, the person who hired the independent contractor, as a general rule, is not responsible for providing worker comp insurance for that independent contractor. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, of course, but with Russell, he may be able to get a particular kind of insurance that allows him to do specialized projects. But the point is that he's done this for a lot of years. He has done so much work around that town and has done a really good job at all kinds of things that was never questioned in the past. And luckily there was no major accident, of course, and the board was never held liable for the work that he did. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not suggesting that he be hired on the spot, certainly not. But I just wanted that in the record that this is a man who is very skilled, very talented, and actually does a really, really good job. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Move this to the next month's agenda. Hopefully get some bids in the meantime. Agenda item number 8, discussion regarding continuing problem with garbage cans stored on common areas. I'll start it off. I think somewhere in this big old package here is a photograph I took of the garbage cans with the notifications on them. That notification is the second letter that I had sent out in the LMC statements, financial statements, the billing, the invoices to the property owners. The reason I put them on the garbage can slip specifically was because I didn't know how many of the owners of those garbage cans are members of the LMC, are property owners, they may be renters. But I wanted to be a little more emphatic with what we were hoping to do. One, to return your can to your residents. Two, to put your house number on them. And that hasn't worked. So I know Lisa went and spoke with some of the residents on Main Street. A lot of them needed to be filled in a little bit more on what we were trying to do. But we still have a continuing problem. And I would like to open that up to public comment. Anybody online with a public comment?
I do not have any hand raised.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the board.
Well, Stuart and I had fun today because we went back and looked at all the garbage cans and tried to find people's numbers on them and couldn't find any. So.
And accused of ripping somebody off.
No. So what I think the only way to find out, when I talked to one apartment that Virgil owns, the tenants were as confused. They said, one time we have 9, now we have 3, and the only way we're going to be able to identify who those garbage cans are billed to is there's a number on them. So I thought I might ask for a volunteer to go down and write the numbers down, but I don't even know if the garbage company will give us that information because we're not the bill payers. You know, but we only saw a couple of garbage cans that had their addresses marked on them.
The number that Lisa is referring to is like a serial number that's been placed on the can by Waste Management. But we're not talking about the address.
Right. So, you know, they were pretty orderly today. I mean, I have to admit, I think, you know, the pictures that we originally saw were in the middle of the storming events, and things were blown over and people weren't going outside, you know, initially when we saw those pictures. But, you know, I think people are doing a little bit better. So, but I'll try to get a volunteer to copy down.
I'll volunteer for that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd also like to suggest putting a sign up, a nice one, a printed metal sign on the facade of the restrooms stating what we want, you know, please return your cans to your residents, and then put the CC&R code on there so it's right there. I don't know if it's going to work, but it couldn't hurt. It won't be some ugly looking sign, but I would like to see that done.
I have a question. What about putting these notices literally under at every single door?
Well, I did put them on a lot of the doors at the beginning of the construction of the pathways. I went down the east side and went to some buildings on the west side too, and I taped them to the front doors.
It's when I do my walkabout, I will look and see who's got cans at their property after, you know, a Monday, maybe a Tuesday or whatever it is. Who has cans? Write their numbers, their addresses down, figure out who lives there and who doesn't have any cans. Virgil's building, I don't know who's doing that, but they're parking where the cans used to be in the back. Every time I saw it, there's always a car parked there. So that space, which was all garbage cans, is now a car parking lot.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those things that just keeps going. That, you know, if we could make it a little bit better, step at a time.
Well, we could take their can away from them.
Well, I don't know if we
You can't do that. You're not the payer.
We could hide them. We could hide them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not going to solve. And it doesn't. I mean, this morning it looked okay. You know, it didn't. Those pictures we originally saw, it was like during the middle of the storm, and people probably didn't want to go outside. But you know, they were all lined up. Even they were all lined up there too. So we have so many other issues.
Yep.
Okay.
Could I get some kind of concurrence? Oh, yes.
I would just like add to the conversation here to say that it wouldn't surprise me if the majority of these bins were account holders that are renters, and so whatever correspondence or communication we can provide to the landowners or the landlords of the rental properties to basically incentivize or encourage them. Maybe we can, I don't know how we can incentivize them, other than to encourage them to, tell their tenants to please, mind their bins.
The second letter was much more emphatic.
Yeah.
Regarding landlords.
Yeah.
So
maybe another version of the same might be worth sending. 21st.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost.
Anybody have a problem with me making a sign? No, we're having a sign made. If there's a problem, let's discuss it.
It just tells them to return their garbage cans to their homes.
It would be like this, metal, permanent. Please return your cans.
I think that's a great idea. Not that people don't know that they already should do that, but something to remind them. And I think the idea of enclosing another letter to the property owner who gets the assessment bill, if we did that every month for a while, I think they're just another case of the squeaky wheel, just keep knocking on the door, It's not a big deal. We can enclose it. Bookkeeper is glad to enclose a slip or something in with the invoice. So I think if we keep that up and be repetitive about it, maybe people will start getting that we're serious.
But I really don't think that's the problem. What I keep seeing back there is cans that aren't even full. You can't even identify where they belong. And I think even like when we got bottled water, they would come and give me like 4 bottles. I'm a business. I don't need 4 bottles. Nobody got that I was a business. And I had to tell them, don't give me all this water. They think something's gone amok with all those garbage cans.
Yeah.
That they don't even know where they go anymore.
Well, maybe a request to, who is it, Cal Waste or Waste Management or whoever, to reconcile the bins that are out here versus active accounts, and if there are inactive accounts, they should repossess the
that's part of the
open
problem.
bins or the leftover bins.
Yeah.
And maybe that takes care of like another few.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole army behind the bathroom.
There is, and some of them are full and they're not getting emptied,
So those could be accounts that have, been closed, but people still put their garbage in there, and therefore it's a nuisance.
I'll give them a call.
Yeah, and if we could get a list, if they can divulge a list of who these serial numbers are registered to.
If we give them to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the boarding house museum, I'm a docent on the first Sunday of the month, and it's really disheartening to see a roll of garbage cans when visitors come and visit our museum and the town of Locke. It's very unsightly. So if those folks who have the garbage put them out after 5 o'clock, but not at 12 noon or before that time, because it's unsightly to see 12 garbage cans or however many garbage cans out here.
I could live with that if they would return them. The problem is leaving them out all week. Now, am I correct in this, in that every other week is a week where all 3 of one's garbage cans can go out?
I don't think so.
Well, doesn't Sacramento County take green waste every week now?
Oh, I have not heard that.
Green waste
I think that's part of the...
Yes.
So they take garbage every week, green waste every week, and recycle every other week. This would mean that we could take, I'll do it, every can that has anything in it and drag it out and have them emptied. And then we could start from scratch there. Because there's a ton of the cans that are just empty behind the boarding house.
I will do that in the next 2 days. I'll get all the numbers and walk around and I'll get you all that information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay. So much for the garbage cans again. Discussion regarding number 9, regarding the maintenance of the community garden area. This shouldn't require a whole lot of discussion, but the community gardens are not being used 100%. There are people that have abandoned their garden plots, and now they're overgrown. They need to be cut back, and also this is the time when everybody has to get see their contract. We start anew every year, so that's kind of been what I've been in charge of. So I want to get our maintenance person to, our landscape maintenance person to cut down weeds that are in anybody's garden. Now this is a problem with some of them because some people still have and want to keep those gardens, but they're completely overgrown. There are articles in our master garden plan that address this. For one thing, it's unsightly, and another thing, it spreads seeds to other people's gardens, but it's an issue that is occurring back there. And we're even considering getting a new maintenance person and replace them with somebody who's better and less expensive. This is more or less just me letting you know that this is an issue and I want to proceed with handling it. It's the time of year where if we cut the weeds down, they're not really going to come back again with the same fervor that they did in the beginning of spring. Is there any public comment about the community garden overgrown vegetation? Hot topic. Any from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Is there something in the lease agreement that states that even if they are not planting, that they need to maintain and weed their?
Oh yeah, you have to maintain your weeds regardless.
So why would we be paying somebody to do weed maintenance?
Well, because that has to get done, and it's a one-shot deal, and the people that have that garden, and I'm not going to say any names, they're not getting the job done. So now there are some plots that are just common area, nobody's renting them, we got to deal with it. So if we're going to deal with that, the plots, by the way, one lot is not very big, it's about 20 by 20. This is why most gardens are multiple lots. So it would mean having whoever's doing that maintenance go over and do that one too.
Can you rent space out to people that don't live here?
It's been done, but...
I've had people ask me that.
Yeah, because people want to be a part of Locke.
I know.
You know? Might give them a feeling of being part of Locke.
How many spaces are we renting out, garden spaces, that we're collecting money on?
Let's see if I count them. I don't know. 10.
So we're collecting some rent, so that rent money could be paid for the landscape, but I see it as a health and safety issue also, because if the weeds are overgrown, somebody could put a match back there.
Yep.
And the town could go on fire.
Okay.
I agree, but in the future, I think I could do a little fun promotion. Come out to Locke, help clean up and everybody do a potluck. It's not enough time now to advertise that, but that would be something to consider for the future.
Well, I have a couple of folks from UC Davis that are coming out and helping with the Chinese demonstration garden.
Oh, nice.
So you won't see much happening because we have to kill it all off. Well, we have to cover it all. Get rid of the Bermuda and everything. Number 10, discussion regarding the Locke archway text and design. You see in your agenda package a photograph of the archway of the Star Theater on Main Street Arch. What I would like to suggest, and of course this is open for discussion, is to use the same size and font to put the word Locke, or maybe Locke, California, up on the archway, the new archway up on River Road. So I'd like to hear people's feelings on what they might like to see up on the archway. So I'm opening it up to public comment.
So you see it from the street, huh?
Yes.
Yes. Any public comment online?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the board?
Yes, I think something in a similar script to this, what you have here at the Star Theater, except I envision something that's just as Locke, CA, slightly smaller CA, EST, 1915.
Yeah, I like that.
It should be in Chinese as well. Is there a character for Locke? Is that, how do you represent?
Well, remember, we're trying to mimic what's down below.
Right.
On the Star Theater. Of course, there's Chinese symbols for everything. But yeah, I'm entertaining any ideas. What we'd like to do is bring a mock-up or two for the September meeting. But I'd like to hear, people's suggestions or concurrence or whatever.
I'll just chime in to say I think it'd be great to have, if it's street facing, to have additional signage indicating that, hey, this is Locke and like there's stuff to see here. And not necessarily suggesting advertising, but just a script like you have here in the packet. Seems very reasonable. And as for Chinese characters, I would support that as well, given the nature of the town.
It would be possible to put, Locke actually takes 2 characters, and you could have one on either side or one in the middle.
Yeah. So I have no particular ideation in my mind. I just support the notion of having something out there that would be visible to the public and would be a fresh look.
I like the established 1915.
Yeah.
That'll give people's.
Tell you what, why don't we come in with a few ideas? We'll get a little bit closer. The thing isn't going anywhere. It's beautiful right now. This will give us time to contact a person who could do the job, find out a ballpark of what it is. There is still funding available from the Locke Foundation regarding the signage.
I like this idea. It's going to face the riverside. I think at nighttime, if we have some neon light, bring it out so that when folks who drive by the town of Locke, they see.
Well, it is
that light
lit
at night.
underneath.
It's lit underneath. Yeah, it's hard to get people to drive down here. People always tell me, I never knew this was here.
Yep.
All the time.
They don't know.
Or do people still live here?
Yeah, they know.
It'll be beautiful when we get it electrified, and it is right now anyway. We haven't got the electricity hooked up, but
I agree, it would be nice to have a little lighting that shows for nighttime, that shows something that's in, keeping with this sort of style, because I think the lighting underneath, I don't know if I'll have to drive by at night and see, but I have a question about, do we know what the original, were there some sort of some metals that were the letters made out of something different? Because it looks like from this that there was something on top of that.
there are actually 2 American flags, one on either side. Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
So
It's still visible, actually. One is the Chinese flag.
I'm just curious if I mean, it looks like obviously it's not, I can't tell if it was paint, if it's just the natural wood coming through, if it was, if there was something on top of the, some sort of metal letters, or if this is just.
yeah, well, it would be painted on.
They were painted on.
Yeah, it's weird though, because you've got different colors and tones. I'll have to look at it better.
Yeah. Okay. Number 11, Douglas Al-Yang discussion regarding right of first refusal. Is Douglas Al-Yang there?
We had him on the phone just a while ago before the previous item, but it seems to have dropped off.
I'm in the building.
Oh, here. Douglas, I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize for misnaming you at our last meeting. I referred to you as Douglas Shaw, so please
Thank you.
accept my apology.
I was going to ask for it later, but now it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Locke Management Association, for having this item. I flew in from Texas to be here for this item tonight. I just have 3 points of interest. My first question is, when this all started on October 17, 2022, which started all the petition signing, and that particular August 17th was canceled, and then it was revised to November 14th, if I'm correct. And that had to do with item 3 that was revised, and it reads, and if I may read, I'm going to have more than 3 minutes, I guess?
Yes, you're agendized here.
Okay, good. The right of first refusal of ownership transfer for property at 13943 Key Street, Locke, California. That's an action item. And so my question with that, we were informed that these 3x5 cards were mailed out for properties that were being listed for sale. And the question is, was this one listed and sent? My second item is tonight's item, and it's directed to you, Mr. Walthall. When you and I exchanged emails regarding the verbiage for the correct or the amended CC&Rs, and I responded to be the same as the bylaws. Mm-hmm. And what is your decision on that tonight?
Well, it's not my decision, it would be a board decision. What I would encourage you to do is to put one right next to the other, the old and then the new. So if you want it to match, do you want the CC&Rs to match the bylaws or vice versa? If you could explain that.
We discussed that in the
No,
meeting.
this is for the benefit of the public and the board.
I believe you can explain that.
Well, I would prefer you to.
All right, I will.
You're the advocate.
All right. So the bylaws, you want me to read it verbatim, or to show
Would you read if it's the bylaw, you want to stay consistent and then match the CC&Rs with it? If you would read that bylaw,
Sure.
that section.
Of course, I have that. Let me begin, I kind of jumped out of turn here. I wanted to read something out of the bylaws as well. The beginning of the chapter and the responsibility of the LMA through the bylaws. And this is just a portion. The purpose of the association shall be to improve and promote the economic well-being, preserve the cultural and historical integrity, and manage the town of Locke. So that's a nutshell of the responsibility of the board. So, that said,
Did you say that was from the bylaws?
it's the beginning, the preamble of the bylaw.
Preamble, okay.
It's Article 1,
Thank you.
Paragraph 3.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
So Article
1.
So in the bylaws, Mr. Walthall wanted me to read the verbiage directly from Section 10, parenthetical D, that should be coincident, exact, and verbatim to the CC&Rs in Section 2.8, and that's Article 2. So parenthetical D states, consult prior residents, descendants, and ascendants lists as a factor in assignment of rights of first refusal, as provided in the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. So the bylaws already had it addressed in the future CC&Rs, and obviously the CC&R section 2.8 doesn't have that wording. So is that satisfactory?
And you would like the new CC, now to be clear, you want the CC&Rs amended to match the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay, could you read, do you want it verbatim? This is what you're advocating for, is to make the appropriate section in the CC&Rs verbatim with the bylaws.
With what you just asked me to read.
Yes.
I did.
Is everybody clear on that?
What is this? Sorry, did not do the pre-read very carefully. What is the section of the CC&Rs that needs to be updated?
2.8.
2.8. Would you want us, if there's an A and a B, would you want us to add a C?
No.
No?
I just want the pertinent section 2.8, which is not consistent with the bylaw.
To assign.
Which area in the 2.8 is not consistent?
It is all of 2.8. Well, I should say, the point of discussion, or, everyone that was upset about this in October, is the first 8 lines, where it says, nothing in the first 8 lines is anything close to what's in the bylaw. So where it says real property shall be, it starts there. And it goes on to say, and I paraphrase, may exercise and assign upon receipt of a bona fide written offer to purchase property.
You want to add it? Because that.
No.
Well, exercise and assign, that's where it's always been confused.
No, I'm not confused.
Okay, well 20 years it's been confused, I think, amongst a lot of us.
I'm sorry.
But it has to be added, and we would have to add like a sentence in there that says, consult the prior descendant list and a factor on assignment. It has to be in that paragraph somewhere, because it's not. And this would be a condition that may, upon this because we're going to consult the prior. Do you want to take out prior? No, you want to leave descendants and ascendants. You want to leave all those 3 words in there. Okay, and as a factor in assignment, and on which the LMA could exercise or assign. Because we've got the word factor, which is not a really strong word. So somehow we'd have to stick it in this paragraph of 2.8. Receive bona fide offer to purchase property may transfer the owner in terms. Association the act will deliver to the owner. Because it's not really mentioned in this on 2.8. Given to Locke Association. Or given to Locke Management Association after consulting the prior resident, descendant, and ascendant list as a factor to assign the right of first refusal.
Question there for me?
Well, where would you put it in? I mean, that's what we're going to have to put in somewhere. If that's what you want, we're going to have to make it make sense in this paragraph.
What I want is not the point. What is needed is its bylaws need to be concurrent and be succinct with this section 2.8.
Right.
You can hire an attorney and make it so.
Yeah, because the whole point is this, that it just goes, it doesn't get assigned to somebody else except for these 3 categories.
The bylaws, in simple, answer, need to be supplanted in 2.8, removing what's there now, where the LMA has the right to assign. So that paragraph, or that section of 2.8, needs to be amended.
Okay. And the right they are going to exercise, or are they only going to assign? Should we take out the word exercise? the LMA.
Okay.
And the consulting.
What's the question?
So should the LMA may or may consider in a factor to assign only to residents, descendants, and ascendants?
For 2.8, the wording?
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I think you need to hire an attorney to give you advice. But it needs to be the same as the CC&Rs.
I understand that.
All right, so I'm not going to be here and parse words or be a wordsmith to rewrite this tonight.
Okay. Do we have the intent? Maybe I should just ask the board. Do we have the intent of what he's saying? That it only be assigned to prior descendants and ascendants.
So my take on this, just briefly here, is that it would be wise to consult a real estate legal professional in this context. So what I'm about to say is just color to that recommendation. But Section 10 describes the duties of the LMA, and the CC&Rs describe the property transactional mechanism and rights. So it's not an easy cut and paste.
Okay.
So that's why we need somebody to help understand how or whether this is even possible and what it should read. Now, I would also say, Mr. Ouyang, like if you had a suggestion here on how this should read, that would be most helpful, because in a way, you know, like I'm completely amenable to fixing what needs to be fixed. It needs to make sense. It needs to be logical. It needs to be understood by the people who read it. And I agree there's some ambiguity here, and that's not helpful for anyone. But like at the same time, you know, if you know we go consult with a lawyer and they come up with something like you know, what is your expectation? We run this by you. What are you suggesting? I guess is really the question back to you here.
Well, I'm not at liberty to write a contract in California.
I'm not suggesting you write a contract.
I understand. Let me finish. So I'm prefacing. I'm laying the groundwork of if I do something, it's not legally, you know, acceptable to court of law, if you will. So I can wordsmith a contract, I can wordsmith a legal document, deeds, meets and bounds, and I could do that for you, but that takes time, and I don't have that time anymore.
Right, and it takes money and time for us.
Well, you know, I enjoy what I've been doing, and tonight is kind of a culmination. I want to come here and meet you folks to explain that, you know, this is needed, and I think it needs to be consistent. And in reading the bylaws speak to the CC&Rs. It's supposed to be there.
Well, I believe the bylaws follow from the CC&Rs.
The bylaws
precede the CC&Rs?
Correct.
Okay.
Those are guidelines for you folks.
Okay.
The CC&Rs are secondary.
Okay.
So, in my world, I don't know about anybody else's world. So
sounds good to me. I don't.
Yeah. Really so I can do that, and I'll go home and think about it, and I'll send Mr. Walt, the LMA email a response that I'll think about it.
Okay. So I think I would actually encourage that and request that to the extent I can request that. I think that would be super helpful for all of us. But because here's another thing from my perspective. Like I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to fix. Like,
why not?
What's wrong?
What's wrong is it's not consistent.
Okay, consistency. Okay, but have there been problems in past transactions that this would remedy?
I wrote to the Department of Real Estate.
Okay.
I wrote to the California Attorney General's office. Mm-hmm. They said to write back again to the Department of Real Estate. Okay. I went up the ladder to the Department of Real Estate. I went to a 20-year supervisor, 22-year supervisor. I got a response from her. I'll share it with you later. But yeah, there's a problem.
Okay. So also knowing what problem you're wanting to address, it very clearly would also help us in terms of fixing this. because like I said, and I'll reiterate, like, I totally want this to be the right thing for everyone, for Locke in particular, and for the ascendants and the descendants and everything, and all of the right of first refusal, which is, from my perspective, I agree, it's ambiguous and it needs to be clear.
I appreciate that.
So what I'm saying is help us, because like from my perspective, I'm not locked in on what the big problem is yet. Consistency, I understand, but is there something else?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
Potential discriminatory law, civil rights violation.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. By LMA or the LMC? By
the
wording? CCNRs?
By the wording at 2.8.
Okay.
Are we talking the first paragraph of? No, never mind.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Jane.
Okay.
You, or Virginia, you had mentioned a certain property, and you also mentioned the card that's sent out. Was that a property that you would have been interested in, and you never received a card? Why was that brought up?
It was on your agenda on October 13th.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It was a building in the back, there was a church.
You weren't on the board.
Not the church, but there was a property, Sandy Black's property that sold.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that started this whole CCNR thing.
Okay.
That's why I brought it up. It began the trek and the journey I'm on, following up with CCNR and the bylaw. So they're part and parcel.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Oyang, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. As I recall, in the October agenda, one word was misguided by the entire public, and the entire public community had signed a petition. The one word rescinding the first right of review zone. That was the incorrect wording that was not clarified by a person or persons who used that against LMA. Because our board cannot just rescind the item of first right of refusal. It has to be public comment, it has to be discussed. Just by one word, it was incorrectly misinterpreted by the community, and the entire email blast, a petition went out that was incorrectly judged against the board. That was incorrect.
Well, wasn't it? It was in our minute. It was how it was stated on the agenda. I think was the word rescinded on our agenda.
It was incorrectly
That was the
on the
problem.
agenda. We did not have a quorum to meet that particular evening. It was not even discussed. It's not an issue. It was not even discussed because we did not have a quorum to even hold that meeting that night.
Is there a question there for me?
I just mentioned it was incorrect, misinterpreted by the community. Something went out, email blast, it was incorrect, and it made a bad image against the town of Locke and against LMA.
So there's no question for me then?
The question is, what is the issue on that is on the descendants list and the bylaws and the CCNRs that's not consistent? What do you want to see change?
So I brought up the October 13th meeting being the reason why it was missed. The verbiage was incorrect using the word rescind at the beginning.
Right.
Then it was stricken and it was revised later. And it showed revised and it was highlighted in the upper corner that it is revised, and it then stated in the revision refusal, and it made it correct. And so that's all I know about that.
We never met as a board on the October agenda. We didn't have a quorum.
I'm just quoting the agenda. That's all I'm doing.
Okay, but the community took that agenda item and magnified the situation.
No, I don't know if you guys did it or not, the committee. I got involved by friends and family that says, and they know my background. They asked me to look into this, so I did, and here I am.
We also have 25 days to act. And if we go beyond that 25 days, it's like a non-action, like we're not going to exercise first right of refusal. Because the Esch case, that was a critical part. Did the LMA act within that 25-day period? So that's another problem. And if you don't act within that 25-day period, then the sale goes through. That's another, this is tricky stuff.
I want to thank Eric for your comments. Just for your information, Eric is a lawyer, and so is Daryl. Pardon me.
I'm sorry, what was the statement?
Eric is a lawyer, and so is Daryl.
Okay.
Daryl, do you understand what's going on here?
No. I have to see it all laid out.
Yeah. So it would be helpful, Mr. Aoyang, if you could supply a suggested amended section 2.8. Your suggestion. We're not asking it to, be legally binding or whatnot. But I can see here that we just can't cut and paste what your desire is.
It's not my desire, personally. It's just something that needs to be corrected.
And
I want to make this very clear. It's not personal. It is something I'm observing, critiquing, and believe that needs to be consistent with the documents that we're discussing. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it require an amendment.
I'll finish. And I did answer Mr. Heath that I will wordsmith this in a way that's fair and consistent and with the intent of the bylaw.
Great.
And I'll hand it to you. I'll send it to you.
Good.
That'd be great.
Very good.
Because we really want the board to be clear on what.
Well, do you understand what I'm presenting? First of all,
I'm getting there.
Well, I mean, to answer that question, not entirely. You have not been explicit as to the civil rights issue.
How can I help tonight?
Could you explain the situation that you think this will remedy?
Sure. I didn't plan to. I just planned to find out if the board. I want to preface again. I exchanged emails with Mr. Walthall about what I thought would be helpful for the CCNR. So I sent him an email to read the bylaws would be the baseline parent verbiage for the CCNR.
Just real quick on that point. So I'm not privy to any of that correspondence. I don't think anybody on the board is, so we don't know any of that what's going on there. So help us get up to speed with that conversation.
I will do that, but that's also the chairman's responsibility to share that with the directors.
Well, we have
we
have some open meeting laws and information sharing protocols that prohibit out of meeting correspondence on these sorts of things.
I'm familiar with
so we have
that.
to have this conversation here live.
I'm familiar with that, and you also have closed sessions.
No, we don't.
We can have a closed session, but it has to be called and it has to be noticed and all that stuff, which we have not done.
There's only reasons that
you can have closed sessions to do this.
Not this, unless it's legal. We have.
Well, this is very legal.
No, I mean, unless we have an attorney. Okay, we have a closed session for attorney, labor, possible lawsuits, but in the Brown Act, it's very specific.
This all seems like possible lawsuits, Lisa.
I know, but we have an executive committee that meets that sometimes they discuss things and don't share it with the rest of the board. That's another problem.
I don't know where to start.
Because we go on and on about.
Let's not talk about the Brown Act or what needs, but if you could just frame it for me a little bit, just help me get up to speed with your what you and Stuart corresponded over.
Well, I already verbalized that, and we just talked about, what he would like for verbiage on the new CCNRs, and I says, section, parenthetical D.
Okay.
Of what I read. It's not difficult, but
Okay.
the only difficult part is to wordsmith it into existing 2.8.
Okay.
That's all, and I'll try that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. I lost my agenda. So, in order for you to act on this, it will require what? Saying everything is in place. I get the new 2.8, you like it, you run it by an attorney.
Generally, amendments are supplied, the actual amendment process is submitted to the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors.
For the CCNR.
We're gonna look that up.
CCRs probably
I
have.
know it's with the bylaws, so I can't speak to the CCNRs.
I can, but that's my world. So I'll leave it to you.
CCNRs, well, I've gone through the process with bylaws with the Locke Foundation successfully. But regarding changes in CCNRs, I don't know. I would assume it would have to go through the Board of Supervisors, but what do you think, Darryl?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
What about Department of Real Estate?
No.
I'll tell you what my world does. It's private. It doesn't go through government.
We're a quasi-government entity.
I understand. I said it's my world.
Oh.
Well, the CCNRs were created by the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency, and it seems like there has to be a discussion and a meeting with the membership meaning the property owners, business owners who are part of the town of Locke. A certain percentage would have to agree on an amendment. Then that amendment would probably be brought up to Sacramento Redevelopment Agency, and then they bring it up to the Sacramento Board of Supervisors saying that we would like to amend the CCNRs to get approval for that process.
I guess that's the system.
And then to have it notarized.
So if it goes through that process, Mr. Heath, then I won't wordsmith it 2.8 if it goes through that process with the Sacramento Housing. Because they can be, they can read parenthetical D and see that it doesn't agree with 2.8, and they can be, the police.
Well, if you go to your CCNR's page 29, it says section 9.8, it says amendments. So there's CCNR, there's the amendments. The declaration may be this declaration may be amended by recording of a certificate of the Secretary of the Association certifying that a vote or written consent of members representing 3/4 of the voting power of the association.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that one.
Huh?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Residing in the members other than the declarant.
Sounds like just you guys.
Yeah. I think it's there,
Good job, Lisa.
Mr. Heath?
Well,
with that said, I can go back and try to work.
I mean, as someone who, as Stuart mentioned, deals with the nuances of language, like how we or an attorney we would hire might make this consistent might not be, like your perspective might not be, your expectation might not be met. I don't know. Like like if you have an idea of how this needs to, I guess I'm just asking for help here.
Okay.
More than anything, like help us help you, and by helping you, hopefully we're helping the whole town.
Right.
Okay. And so
I wanted to.
I understand you don't want to do the red line or whatever, and I get it. But like, I guess to whatever extent it's worth anything, I would say it's just an input into the system, because we're going to have somebody else look at it as well.
Right.
And just it will help us. Like, the more input, the better, especially from someone who has real estate experience, developer experience. These CCR things, granted not in California, but whatever. I mean, these things are all over the country. You have deep knowledge and experience here. So I think
I'll do that. I just heard Mr. or Ms. Lum say something about another government agency, and then Ms. Kirk said, you know, it's part of you guys, so I'll go back to saying I'll volunteer.
We may not know well enough yet on who gets to deal with this hot potato, but we're happy to deal with it.
All right, I'm happy to help.
Great.
All right.
Let's cooperatively go about this.
I think if you have no other questions, I'm done.
Well, thank you very much for that thorough presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
For coming out to California.
I have family here.
All the best.
Thank you.
The last page. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment on
Also do with your agenda.
agenda number 11?
Yes. Public comments here? Okay, well, I like...
Martha had her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Sorry, Martha.
You can go first if you
Okay,
want.
thank you, Martin. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to refresh everybody's memory in October last year. Well, interestingly, Ms. Lum said that, you know, oh, we used the wrong wording. Okay, so if you use the wrong wording, words do matter. It's not that we misinterpret, it's you use the wrong wording. Secondly is that there is a clear intention that some of the board members here want to dilute the Chinese heritage. They want to do away with right of first refusal. And the intention is well illustrated in some of the private email I posted on the county website. So this is for to refresh your memory, you know, the intention of doing away with the right of first refusal, the intention of diluting the Chinese heritage in this town by some of the Locke Management Association members are clear and present. Thank you.
In the CAC days prior to Locke Management Corporation and Locke Management Association in 2002, Director Christina Fa got paid $1,600 from the Locke Management Corporation to get their legal opinion from a law firm named Remy Thomas, Morse and Moose, I believe. It's in the SHRA foundational papers for Locke Management Corporation, Locke Management Association. They wrote 8 pages, a legal opinion on the right of first refusal clause that at the time was a 2-year discussion at that point amongst a board of 17 members in the CAC days. I suggest you read their opinion again because they suggested that the right of first refusal not be included in the bylaws or the CC&Rs, but that a display discussing the terrible discrimination that did happen to the Chinese people be made and put in this boarding house. They suggested that the board not put it into the bylaws because it is unconstitutional to state that any ancestry, race, or national origin have a factor in the assignment of right of first refusal, where it in section, I believe it's 10, it was either 9 or 10 in the bylaws, and then the following section, I think it might be section 11, is the anybody list, the interested parties list. Anybody can be on that list and ask for notification from the board when there's a transition for ownership of properties. That anybody list does not have that subsection D, parentheses, to be considered as a factor in the assignment of right of first refusal by this board. That is where the discrimination lies with state law saying that doesn't jive with state law, with the Department of Real Estate saying that doesn't jive with the state laws. Now, the Department of Real Estate has told me that because the Locke Management Association was created by a government entity, the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, in conjunction with the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, because of that, they didn't have to go through the Department of Real Estate to get that right of first refusal looked at. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Any more public comment? Anybody online with public comment?
See no hands raised?
Anybody on the board got anything more to say about that?
I do have a comment. One of Member Shaw had mentioned about the delusion of the Chinese representation. According to the bylaws of Locke Management Association, there shall be 4 directors elected by the Board of Directors, ratified by Sacramento County. 3 directors shall be representatives of local Chinese American organizations. The 3 directors representing Chinese American organizations shall be elected from nominations received by any Chinese American organizations. 1 director shall represent historical preservation organization. So at the time in October, 3 Chinese organizations are being represented on LMA. We've never had amended the bylaws to reduce the number of Chinese organizations representing our board of directors. At the moment, we do have 3 Chinese organizations representing the interests of the LMA. Chinese American Council of Sacramento, Organization of Chinese Americans, and also the Locke Foundation. So there are 3 Chinese organizations representing the organizations for Locke Management Association, and we are not diluting the board of that representation, nor have we done in past.
You haven't seen the email that I shared on the county. You understand what I'm trying to say? You choose not to see it. What can I say? You choose to be blind.
Okay, let's move on.
One last comment for me on the right of first refusal issue. I would be significantly apprehensive about preferential treatment of any race, creed, under the laws of the U.S. and the state of California.
I want to clarify a little something that Mr. Ayank said a few times. Just because somebody sends me an email doesn't make it my responsibility to try to clearly explain to every board member what that person said. I'm still a little confused. Eric, your questioning really helped walk towards clarification on what Mr. Aoyang is after. And then of course there's this issue of the Brown Act and whatnot. Actually, what occurred here with Mr. Aoyang and you, Eric, took great steps in understanding and kind of soothing the situation too. So I appreciate that. Okay, moving on. Number 12, the discussion regarding the final map of Lot A or portion of Locke Road. So this again is ownership of what is now the gravel road from Main Street next to Dustin Marr's garages into to the end of Dustin Marr's garage. I have the county plot map. it shows that Sacramento County does own that land. So hopefully Lisa, in her conversations with Supervisor Hume, we can get the ball rolling on at least getting that part of the road fixed. Although it's in good shape right now. Is there any public comment regarding the Lot A? I'll supply a more complete map for the next meeting. Look, it also includes all of Main Street, and it also goes back a little ways, next to the boarding house here. Any comments by the board? Okay. Now, number 13, discussion regarding the hiring of a town manager. I want to open that up to public comment. Martha?
This is a common interest development that is responsible for managing the common areas of the town, the public sidewalks, the public walkways, the public parks, not people's private properties. We don't need a town manager. We haven't had a town manager since 2013. Once you get the garbage situation fixed, you don't need a town manager to tell us how to grow the $10 a year gardens and pay $12,000 out of the budget, which you're still charging us for. Where's our rebate? We've been asking for it for years. We're still charged as if there is a town manager. All these years we've asked, why are we being charged $12,000 for a manager when there is no manager? We don't need a manager to tell us how to live in our houses. We need the sidewalks fixed. We need the trees that are growing through the wires, the electrical wires, trimmed and beating up against houses such as mine that are the park trees. We need things like that for the common areas of the town, not our private properties. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Anybody online?
I see no hands raised.
Any comments from the board?
I reached out to Mercy Housing of California. I think what we need is a property management company that has a community goodwill interest to help the town of Locke. Our budget being $12,000 for a town manager, it's $1,000 a month. And if we break that down to $25 an hour, it's only 10 hours per week. But there is a need for a town manager to help with the communication and to help with follow-up to all the efforts with managing a town common interest development. Still needs a town manager in a sense that we are as volunteers, we need full-time person to help with managing the issues and the professionalism for the town. We do have a committee that is exploring a town manager, so we still need to meet and further discuss. But I do welcome any input from our board directors on ideas on what those tasks a town manager should handle. That is part of a contract between our board and also a town manager. So we do have a previous model from a past town manager position. but I welcome any input, as well as the committee welcomes input in hiring a town manager.
We do have that pretty clearly, the tasks that previous town managers have done. Our last manager was 2020, and it was Anna who did a really good job. She even did a newsletter, which was very helpful to let members of the LMC be aware of what's going on in the town. I also have another couple leads. We might have to go through an agency. Our plates are full.
I would like to see if Sac County's going to continue to do agendas and the meetings, because we had a town manager that did that previously. So if Sac County has that commitment, you know, because we had a manager that did that, but I want to see a manager that, we've got multiple, we need grants, we need funding. I don't, you know, we can deal with garbage, I can sweep the streets, you know, yeah, they'll have to have somebody that prunes the trees, but I am not a big proponent of having, I found offense to that newsletter actually, you know, and we need somebody that can get us some funding mechanisms here. Not, you know, tell people that they shouldn't leave furniture on the sidewalk. I don't want to get into that. I want somebody that's going to help us, you know, help Clarence write the grant, or that's what I want. I want somebody at a different level. And if Sac County's going to continue to do the minutes, great. If they're not, I'll communicate with Pat Hume and say, we need someone to do that then. Because Sac County has never done this before.
Lisa, can you communicate when you're talking to Pat to see if he would reach out to Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency to get us a grant for a property manager, specifically on some of those items that you talked about?
Daryl?
Please communicate with him to ask him.
Are you on the SHRA?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I can't put things on the agenda.
Okay. You got funding for things like that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to know the board members' general feeling about having a town manager.
Well, I think it's a good idea because, and I'll give you one practical reason why. You asked just a moment ago if there were any tasks that we have one coming up right now. We're trying to deal with and help the Fong family deal with the Wally building. And they live North Bay. Now, we're trying to connect them with a pigeon removal expert. They're going to come out and do an assessment of the building and to try to give some numbers. Well, it's a difficult thing for them to come, and I know that Mr. Fong is working. So if there was a town manager here, or we could count on that person being here for so many hours a week, it would be an easy thing. If we have a contractor coming out, as in this case, they could be here to escort the contractor, show them the Wally, and explain to them what needs to be done, rather than someone driving from Sacramento, okay? Or Stuart does some of these things, but then that takes away from his time going to Sacramento to get ready to teach his classes. So if that person were here and we knew what those hours were, that's an easy thing to contract with for the people. We contract not only for the Wally and the pigeons, but for getting trees trimmed, for looking at everything around here.
Getting rid of cars. Yeah. I mean, that was a pain in the neck just in itself.
Yes, we had to deal with that long distance and by phone calls, and you know what the phone reception is like here. So there are just the ease of trying to get things accomplished and meeting with contractors and opening doors, you know, to a building to let somebody in. That's a difficult thing when you live in Sacramento or you've got to be at a job. But that person's job is to be here and attend to that. That's a terribly practical and a good reason to have a town manager.
But that's a private property issue. No town manager should spend time dealing with someone on their private building.
Well, then how are we going to get these things accomplished?
Well, and that's a private property issue.
It's a practical matter to accomplish the needs of the town.
But that we shouldn't interfere with people's, you know, that's a contract between a property owner, you know, that's not our venue.
Well, 2 years ago when I started the project,
yeah.
Tree trimming, I made 6 trips out here from Sacramento to meet with contractors. 6
for one person.
That was just me. That had to do with the benefit of the town and common areas. And that's not the only thing that I've had to come in. And a lot of people have had to do this too. So there's very practical reasons for having someone that's out here several hours a week.
So to follow Joe and respond to your request for input from the board on this matter, I don't know Honey's suggestion of a organization that does this. I agree that a certain number of hours per week could very easily be filled by a town manager. Whether they're actually living in Locke or nearby or not, I'm agnostic as to that. If it's part of their job to get out here to deal with a contractor or to, deal with some issue relating to the common areas and the common interest of the town, then that should be fine. I don't. I think deal with like who does the garbage. It's been volunteers from what I know for years, or at least since COVID, which is now years, and that seems unfair to me. So anyway, I don't know that it needs to be a full-time person. I don't know that they need to live here, but I think we couldn't afford it if it was. So maybe that goes without saying. But I just want to make it clear that I think there is a role to be played for someone who can help manage the town for some of these issues like Joe was describing.
And it's even laid out in this final CAC report regarding the hiring of a town manager.
Yeah.
So
whether it's part-time, whether it's an agency, whether it's whatever, I don't know, but I certainly see the need.
I see the need.
Thank you.
A sense of professionalism is needed, takes the pressure off the board for the benefit of the town.
So you're in a funny equilibrium here. Here we've spent time earlier in the meeting talking about someone who's volunteering their time to do, like road work, and then we got all these volunteers up here. We have the ability to hire a town manager to kind of take the heat off of it. When somebody says, I don't want a town manager, that means, no, I want you to take care of all this stuff. We've been taking care of all this stuff. And the reality of it is we save the town $25,000 a year by doing all this stuff. The amount of work that Joe does just with this, the assessment issue is mind-boggling. So, okay, well, we'll continue the search, and through the search, finding out the possibilities of town manager and what potential costs may be. Okay, section 3, reports, announcements, and updates. The LMC representative report. So residential building owner, representative is me. I've pretty much covered all the things regarding garbage and the vegetation and whatnot. Some of that stuff, frankly, I think could be handled just by the executive committee. For instance, there's a whole lot of overgrowth over in the drainage ditch on the south end of town, things like that people have brought up, and that I'm bringing up because I represent the residential property owners. So I'm just saying it's kind of like status quo, the same old stuff going on. That's my report. Does anybody have any public comment regarding residential building owner representative report? Anybody on the board? Okay, moving on to agenda item 15, report from commercial building owners, Locke Merchants representative. So I would start with Eric, and then I'll eventually give it over to you, Ginny.
Thank you, Stuart. I do not have anything to report.
Okay. Ginny?
It's the same but worse than last meeting. Business has really gone down. The numbers of people have gone down substantially as well. I don't understand what's going on. It's a very strange, especially with the beautiful weather we've been having. I don't. I don't know. If people are even more holding on to their purse strings a little tighter than the last meeting, but I've definitely seen a decrease in the traffic in town.
Regarding, not to try to, we're not in business here, well, we kind of are. Our visitation has been coming up, although, you know, there are some weekends that I can't figure it out why visitation is down when it's so beautiful. But let's make sure that we have your business cards or whatever. If you'd let me know what your regular hours are, we send people on down that way, same with you, Lisa. There's no reason if they come in here, because this is kind of first stop being adjacent to the parking lot.
Right.
No reason why we can't. We want people to have things to look at and stay in Locke longer. So
I think people are really disengaged right now. I see it more and more where they don't want to engage with other people. So they'll spend time looking at Charlie's Loch Ness building, which looks the same for 20 years, U-Haul boxes. They'll glance at my free table and take things off the free table, but they won't go into my shop. They'll go to Brock's window when he's closed and spend a lot of time looking through his windows. I think it's the economy. I think people are really hurting, and they I don't know, they don't want to give you false hope that they'll buy something and just spend time. There are those people that do that as well. People aren't, even the big groups of people that I'm getting in occasionally aren't buying much of anything. So I think it's very representative of the way the economy is right now. It's odd.
And your door's gonna have to be closed when you're getting hot, you know?
Yeah.
I leave it open all year long.
Oof.
I never close that door.
I close it when the bikers are just out in front, you know, vroom, vroom, vroom for no apparent reason. It's so loud I can't even hear myself. But yeah, I normally keep mine open. So
Okay.
yeah, that's,
But you're both open Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying that because we're open Saturdays
Yes.
and Sundays.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it's good to pull people down, and I've always thought I would like to set something up that kind of takes people from here. I don't know, even one of these, I was just looking at these boards right there, just to get them to walk from one place to the next as they're walking down the street. Because yeah, they do come into mind. Then I tell them about Al's, they've never been in there, or Jenny's or Martha's, and it's that kind of like pull them down the street. Do you know we have 4 museums? Most of them don't know that.
Yeah, I had a group of, my son played a baseball tournament in Sacramento, and I think I had probably 8 or 9 kids here, plus mixing of parents, about that many parents, and they were just like blown away by the place. And the kids went out to hunt feral cats, but
Why?
I'm sorry. They're just looking.
I was thinking of adopted.
They're looking at the cats. But I told all the parents. I'm like, you know, there's great vintage,
Right.
you know, down here and right here, and there's great museums, and go to the, you know, and like I think they will be back. They've been living in Sacramento for like 3 days doing this baseball thing, so they were on their way home. But I agree. Like there needs to be, you know.
And I don't even know like planters, you know, I don't want to get, you know, just something that's kind of beautiful and interesting along the streets, along Dustin's building, you know.
I have a question actually, and this is maybe for Stuart or for you guys. I don't know, and I apologize for being ignorant of this, but like, you know, we have these museums, we have the schoolhouse, we have the boarding house, we have the we have all this great stuff. I mean, it's fantastic. Do we have, or is there such a thing? And if there is, I think we should maybe lean into it a little bit more, like a self-guided walking tour.
Yeah. But you have
because that would hit everybody.
You have to buy it though, right?
Here.
Okay, well, never mind. See, I'm probably looking at it right now. All right, well, this should be made more available. to me. Never mind.
We sell the hell out of those.
Okay, well, good.
But it needs to be current.
Yeah.
I've only been here 20 years.
Sorry to reveal my ignorance.
Anyway.
Okay. Thank you. The report from OCA, Organization of Chinese Americans.
Yeah.
Any public comment? I guess we got to ask. Why don't you give your report and then we'll see if anybody has any comments.
Well, we're going to Washington DC. I'm leaving tomorrow, so I gotta get some sleep. But we're going to Washington DC for National Convention. And hopefully, Greg is our, what do you call that?
Unsung hero.
Unsung heroes.
And honest too.
And then hopefully, maybe we'll bring back the Chapter of the Year award, so we'll see.
Wonderful, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
All right. 17, report from CACS.
CACS had a field trip to Yosemite a month and a half ago. Focus was the Chinese heritage connection with Yosemite. It's quite successful. The attendees were very thankful and had a great time. CACS will have a board meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, and I will have a thorough discussion with the board about item number 11 of today's agenda. So we'll have a thorough discussion about that.
Thank you. Okay, report from our Chinese organization, Locke Foundation representative.
Locke Foundation, May 13th, we hosted our Asian Pacific Spring Festival and had over 400 people attending the event. And thank you to the business owners and the residents who came out to help that day. Locke continues to provide walking tours. Late May, we hosted UC Davis medical students, equity and inclusion course topic, and we continue to provide walking tours in May and June. I think with these opportunities for walking tours, we have to notify our businesses in advance so that you can have your businesses open.
Yes, that would be great.
For them. Locke Foundation's Oral History Project Committee is working with Ming Zhao, a Bay Area journalist, filmmaker, to create a documentary about the women voices in the Delta area. So we target to have that film production completed May next year to celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month. But production costs have increased to over $30,000. So we plan to coordinate a fundraiser event. So we'll get the news out and let you know more about that. We also have received a grant to share 5 books each to 30 City of Sacramento libraries. Our board director, Mark Miller, is spearheading that effort to gather books, to create a banner and marketing information to outreach, to promote the town of Locke and the Delta area. Locke Foundation has submitted an application to be at the Cortland Pear Fair for Sunday, July 30th. We also, Locke Foundation releases a spring newsletter, and it's featured a living history story about Naiti Chan Young and her family who were part of operating the Happy Cafe in Locke. So before you leave, please pick up a newsletter if you haven't done so. Carol Lee did the interview and wrote the article. Thank you, Carol, for doing that for the Oral History Project.
You're welcome. Her name is Nitty.
Nitty.
It's a really odd name, yeah.
And it's spelled 19.
No, there's a story.
Locke Foundation representatives also attended a celebration of life to honor Jean Chan, who was a longtime Locke resident. He passed away in November last year, and he was also a descendant of the Chinese rail workers, and his relatives were part of Flying Tigers. His celebration of life was on July 1st last week.
Thank you. And by the way, I have not heard back from the Pear Fair committee yet. So, thank you for that report. Staff update. Manuel, what is a staff update?
That's generally if you have any updates from the county in regards to the meetings, any processes that might have changed, but I have no staff updates at the moment.
Okay. Agenda item 20, director comments, reports, or announcements. Do we have any reports or announcements? Well, we know Daryl is tired. Okay, the last agenda item is public comments. General public comments not posted on the agenda. Do we have any? Martha?
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, did you get the email public comment that I submitted?
It's been published online.
I didn't see it in the packet.
No, you sent it to me right before I left because I had to be here by 5:30.
Okay,
So I
has the
received it
board
in
been
15
able to
minutes.
see it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone's able to see it. They can go on the
Okay,
page.
because, anybody in the audience, did you get my public comment?
No.
No, the public hasn't received it.
Okay.
I know you got it in late, so.
I realize that.
Okay, so we
realize
got it,
that.
but I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know if it's printed.
Can we make sure that it gets in with these meeting minutes?
I
For
can do
this
my
meeting?
best. I just, that one I received, I was about to head out.
I understand, but it was 2 hours before the meeting started.
Yeah, but my
Okay.
intent is always to be here 1 hour before the meeting is to
Very
set up,
good.
and I
Okay.
leave at 4:30.
Thank you.
I received it at 4:27.
For those of you in the audience, my written public comment has to do with the fact that we still have not had any board elections for the Common Interest Development Board seats that the 32 general members of this town are by law supposed to be able to nominate, elect, and seat the board. I know, Mr. Prasa, you were talking about that you have to come from far away. If your board members were seated by the town members as they're supposed to be under Code Section 5105, I know I sound like a broken record, but 5105 Davis-Sterling Act, Code Section for Common Interest Development, it's the state law. This board is operating more like a community service district, which maybe it should transition into, because most of the board seats are appointed by the county, and then other people claim to be representing us, but you're not general members, and you weren't elected by the general membership. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Corliss?
Yes, you wanted me to talk about something. I wasn't sure what you wanted me to talk about.
What?
You said something about a privacy list or something?
Oh, okay, at our Locke Foundation board meeting, you brought up the estimates.
Right, and he said that I needed to bring it up here.
So you could talk about that list. What is the
You
list
brought up a
all about?
subject that didn't have anything to do with the Locke Foundation, and I told you that has a lot to do with the Locke Management Association. But I'm not requesting you to speak about anything.
Oh, okay, well.
Do you have a public comment? You're here.
Never mind. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that miscommunication.
Okay, I have a comment. My comment is to Ms. Lam. I think that she should really read all the material before she speak. She just speak to kiss up to people, and she doesn't care what is the real content.
Do we have any comment online?
See no hands raised?
I have a comment for Douglas Shaw. In the October meeting, you were still as serving, I believe, interim officer, but you never showed up, nor did officers showed up for the meeting. So you have to actually go back to your own actions and reflect on that.
Can I answer to that?
Already public comment is closed. This is board comment.
You were wrong, okay? You always misread everything, misunderstand everything.
Okay. I'm adjourning the meeting.
Did we take a vote? Did we already take a vote? Do we have to take a vote?
You don't have to take a vote.
Okay, okay. You need a second?
Oh, no vote is required.
Okay, all right.
So, in October, I was already decommissioned, okay?
I'm not-
For your information, you don't know, don't speak.
Listen, I'm sorry.
You don't know, don't speak. You just kiss.
Okay. Debbie?
Thank you.
You too. Good luck. Have a good time.
Please show